All right. Hey guys. I know it's been a while. I've just been very busy, so uh apologize for that, but we're going to end the visionary material today. So we're going to get through Genesis 11, and then after this Genesis 12 we're going to do the patriarchal history. So maybe you'll enjoy that. Um Anyways, we'll get started. So, Genesis 11, Abraham's genealogy and the Tower of Babel. So, chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Now the whole earth was one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and dwelt there. Then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and bake them with fire. They had brick for stone and asphalt for mortar. They also said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower or a ziggurat, whose top will reach to heaven. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, the ziggurat that the sons of men had built. And then the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one race and one language, and they've begun to do what they said. Now they won't fail to accomplish what they've undertaken. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city and the tower slash ziggurat. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the languages of all the earth. And from there, the Lord God scattered them abroad over all the faces of the earth. So here we have verses 1 through 2. It starts off within the genealogy of Genesis 10. Genesis 11 shows us the first actual reference to an actual date. So we have not had any dates before. So we're getting a little bit of a shift with this visionary material. We're actually getting a date given, like an actual reference here. So in between Noah leading to Abraham, a historical event that predates Abraham is given here. And this is the development of the original Babylonian Empire, or Old Babylon, during the Bronze Age. So we're actually going to be given something here that's about the Bronze Age collapse. So the old Babylonian Empire was extremely well connected before the collapse. So, for example, Hammurabi was known to be well connected and had a lot of vassal nations, and he claimed to have all the information from the ancients pre-flood. So, uh, like everybody was very well connected at this time, and then actually nobody really knows what happened, but there was something that happened where uh, there was just a complete collapse of all society, and Abraham actually is when we see Genesis, the date that Abraham is in, he's actually part of he's actually involved in the time period when people are coming out of the Bronze Age collapse. So he's he he's actually I mean, for lack of a better term, he's actually a product of the Bronze Age collapse in so many ways. Um, kind of like millennials are the product of recessions or something. Kind of. I'm not. That's not a really good way to put it, maybe, but like maybe COVID would be better. I don't know, but something that we've all experienced and something we could kind of put a little explanation and make you think about it. I would Wikipedia this a little bit just to get like a basic grasp of an understanding of it. But anyways, I'm gonna just continue. The Tower of Babel, I keep saying is a giant ziggurat. And why do I keep saying that? Because that's what it is actually. Because we know that because we know what the Tower of Babel was, right? It was a real thing that actually existed. So let's keep going here. Hopefully there we go. All right, so the tower, the ziggurat of Babylon. So you can kind of see it. You saw it in the intro, and you can kind of see it right now in this picture, even though it's a little small. It's a big giant ziggurat. Like it's a giant tower. It's a giant ziggurat. And this thing is going to be used to try to trap a god in it. So I'm going to kind of explain that. So in verses 3 through 4, the people decide that instead of scattering to fill the earth like they were told to do, they're going to unite to build a city, first of all, kind of like Cain. Cain tried to build a city, right? So we're seeing history kind of repeat itself again. But they don't just build a city, they build a tower. And this tower is a ziggurat that will be able to reach the sky, the heavens. So here's the thing. The people knew that they couldn't actually go that high to get to heaven, right? But they are going to try to bring Yahweh down like the pagans do and put him into an idol so that they can try to control him and try to trap God and feed him. So that's something that the pagans would do. They would try to make a temple, make a ziggurat. A ziggurat is a temple. They would try to make it as high as they could. And then once they did that, they would try to take the pagan god and try to do a ritual that would trap the deity into one of the idols, and then they would feed the idol. And they would hope that the god would give them, the deity would give them whatever they wanted after they did a little negotiations and stuff. So here they're going to try to do this to control Yahweh. So this is the height of arrogance here and a total rebellion against God. So I also put on here Babylon means the gate of the gods. So they kind of thought highly of themselves. They thought this is the gateway to get to the gods. This place, Babylon, this city, this nation, right? So just kind of a little thing there. Verses 5-9, God comes for a visit. A judgment takes place. And we get a divine council reference here when God says us, right? So let me go back over here real quick. Verses 5. Let's see. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language. So kind of weird that he says that, but that's because there's a divine council reference here with us. It's some people have tried to say it's a Trinitarian reference, but it's not. It's a divine council reference. So God is talking to his divine council. He's talking to the angels that he uses and tells to work with him, right? But God judges by scattering the people. And so when this happens, there's going to be a collapse that happens with this civilization. So this is actually the Tower of Babel episode in Genesis 11 is actually a visionary material telling you about the Bronze Age collapse. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit there. And if you don't believe me that this is about the divine council, Deuteronomy 32:8-9 also references the Tower of Babel. And it says in verse 8, when the Most High divided the nations and he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of God. So God numbers the nations here, and we get 70 nations there, right? Because when you read later, you're going to get a number, and it's going to be, there's 70 nations that are listed, and that's called the Table of Nations. And for the Lord, it says in verse 9, for the Lord's portion became the people of Jacob. The allotment of his inheritance is Israel. So if you add all the nations, there's 70 of them. And Gentile is used here. So it says Gentile means 70 nations here. And not coincidentally, when you look at ancient Near East sources, you'll find when they talk about the council of gods, because they also have a divine council of sorts, you'll find that there's also 70 sons of God in most of the ancient Near East sources. So very, very interesting factor. And even in Eastern Orthodoxy, you'll find in icons of the Tower of Babel, you'll find people with angels that are above or over them. And since God promised no flood, when mankind is too sinful, God leaves so they won't face a death by holiness. So here, he does judge them and does this by separating the nations with the angels shepherding them. So unfortunately, though, these angels that shepherded them, they are going to fall. And then the people and the angels will fall into paganism. So in other words, they were angels and they were supposed to guide these nations, but they fall. And so the people start worshiping them, and they worship demons, and those demons become the pagan gods, right? So Saint Dionysius actually claims that Saint Michael the Archangel, the guardian of Israel, is the only one who did not fail and led his people to God, right? So kind of an interesting little tidbit there. So the spiritual idea here comes into light materially here, where the spirit that possesses these nations leads to evil, depravity, war, and corruption. And this is all motivated by the fallen angels, the demons. So this is why that happens. And so everybody scatters, different languages develop, different cultures, different worship of gods. And eventually, Pentecost will eventually, under Christ, reverse this curse. So, that's a cool little thing here. So now we're going to get into a genealogy again. So this is the genealogy of Shem. So chapter 11, verse 10 through 26. Now this is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. When after he begot Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years, had sons and daughters, and he died. Arphaxad lived 135 years and begot Canaan. After he begot Canaan, Arphaxad lived 430 years, had sons and daughters, and he died. Canaan lived 133 years and begot Salah. So after he begot Salah, Canaan lived 330 years and begot sons and daughters, and he died. Noticing a theme here, right? Now Salah lived 130 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 330 years and begot sons and daughters, and he died. Now Eber lived 134 years and begot Peleg. After he begot Peleg, Eber lived 370 years, had sons and daughters, and he died. Now Peleg lived 130 years, begot Reu. After he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters, and he died. Reu lived 132 years, begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years, had sons and daughters, and he died. Now Serug lived 130 years, begot Nahor. After he begot Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and had sons and daughters, and he died. Nahor lived 79 years and begot Terah. And after he begot Terah, Nahor lived 179 years, had sons and daughters, and then he died. So Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Shem's genealogy here is given again. Shem lived to 500, Arphaxad 430, Canaan 330, Salah 330, Aber 370, Peleg 209, Reu 207, Serug 200, Nahor 129, and Terah is 7 years old when he has his sons. So kind of interesting that they all kind of keep going down, right? A lot of people have noticed that their ages keep going down, and it is kind of interesting. I don't really know what to make of it, to be honest. But Terah is going to be the main person that we're going to talk about on this one, sort of. So Terah's genealogy, we're going to talk about Abraham, but Terah's genealogy is important too, because it gets brought up next. We're getting introduced to the patriarchal history. This is the conclusion of it. This is the conclusion of the visionary material and the intro to the patriarchal history that we're going to get to. So chapter 11, 27 through 32, Terah's genealogy. So this is Terah's genealogy. Terah had Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran had a son named Lot. Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Then Abram and Nahor took wives. And the name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. But Sarah was barren and had no child. Now Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and led them out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So Terah has Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Haran has Lot, but then died in Ur of Chaldea before Terah. And Abraham marries Sarah, and then Nahor marries Milcah. And Milcah is one of Haran's daughters. So he married his brother's daughter. So interesting there. So Haran has Milcah, Iscah, and Lot. Nahor marries Milcah. Abraham and Sarah are barren. Verse 31, and Abraham and Sarah are barren at this point. So verse 31, Terah takes Abraham, Sarah, and grandson Lot out of Ur to go to Canaan. They get to Haran and dwell there, and Terah lives to 205 years old and dies in Haran. So he dies at 205 years old. So I may end up redoing this part that I'm going to do, but I am going to just go ahead and do it. So this is the conclusion of Genesis 1 through 11's visionary material, and we're going to have an introduction to patriarchal history, which is Genesis 12 through 50. So Genesis 1 through 11 gave us visionary material. 3 falls of man, Adam and Eve's fall, which was death and mortality, the telling of death and mortality, how that came, Cain's fall in the flood, so how come there was sinfulness with the demons, and the tower, the ziggurat of Babel, which was the dividing of nations. So these were the 3 falls of man, right? Chapter 12 through 50 will be this is going to be called the patriarchal history, which is given to Moses on Mount Sinai. So before, in chapters 1 through 11, we got the primordial history, and you got a lot of symbolism from it, right? And we couldn't get a whole lot of timelines much, etc. And this was deliberately done by whoever wrote Genesis. So, or by Moses. Moses gave it to us, obviously, but Ezra is the writer, so we can blame Ezra if we think something's like, we're like, I don't like this. I don't like how it's written. Like, blame Ezra, right? Because he's the editor. Probably is the editor. But anyways, this is how God gave it to us. So Genesis 1 through 11 told us one set of stories in order to make its points. So now Genesis 12 through 50 will focus on a new set of stories involving 4 generations of a family. Now, I'm going to note here, because this may tick off some people, because sometimes it does. The younger creationists, I don't know that they would like listening to this, but it is what it is. So, I got nothing against them, but this will fly in their face, I think, a little bit. But we have to note here that this is still visionary material. Like, it didn't just stop being visionary material. But here, God does give Moses the patriarchal history. So this is going to be where it sets us up for the Exodus, since Genesis is still a prologue, essentially. So it is visionary material, and that's because we get what's relevant to the story. We actually get dates in this part, but we also skip through lots and lots of history in it, and we skip things. So, like, example, nothing is told about Egypt's foundations. Like, we're just there at some point in the story, and it's established that Egypt exists, right? And if one doesn't like that structure, one can blame Ezra, the scribe and editor. Not that there's a reason to blame him. That's kind of a little joking statement for me to give there for you. But the time period, we get 2000 BC essentially. So Abraham is in Ur, and this is already an ancient city of Sumer, one of the earliest civilizations of mankind, and Mesopotamia. In Mesopotamia, Sumer and Akkad were the 2 main regions there. Sumer and Akkad by 2000 BC are having a Sumerian renaissance. Can't say that today. And they built the great ziggurat of Ur, which was dedicated to Nana, which is a moon deity. So this was being completed in Abraham's lifetime. And there are lots of traditions in Judaism that connect Abraham to this time period. So they call it the Ur 3 period, which historians, some of them find it funny because technically there is no Ur 2 period. Because for whatever reason, when they were putting history together, the Ur 1 people gave their 1 stuff for history, and then Ur 3, they named it Ur 3, and I think they were planning to have it Ur 2, but it just never that's not how it worked in the history books. So um just a little funny fact there. The historians call it Ur 3 instead of Ur 2. Because they kind of thought there was something before that. But anyways, so it really probably should, if they were gonna like go into the history books and kind of like just redefine it maybe a little bit. They might want to do it Ur 1 and Ur 2, but it's well established that they call it Ur 3, so that's just what it is for now. But anyways, going on. So we're in the Ur 3 period. I think if you want to look at that, go ahead and Wikipedia. It's good to do that because you can kind of get a better context what I'm saying too. Also with this, but at the end of the day, so God's going to come to Abraham. He's going to come to Abram and tell him to leave this all behind. So each city had a divine king. Abraham's going to be called out of this place, called out of Ur. And until cities come together, there won't be a clear pantheon yet entirely, like we'll get later with Greco-Roman cities and states and nations. But I will say polytheism does exist, and the material, spiritual, astrology stuff are all connected with the pagan world. So we'll talk about all that though, like when we get to Genesis 12 through 50. But anyways, that is going to be all of it for tonight. And I thank you for listening. I know it's been kind of a long, drawn out bit, but I do appreciate y'all listening. So thank you. And I hope y'all have a good Thanksgiving, at least for anyone that's celebrating in America, I guess. Because other people don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but America, we do. So I hope you all have a good one. I'm hoping I can do at least 1 or 2 before Christmas podcast, but if I don't, then Merry Christmas to everybody. So anyways, thank you. God bless. And I'll see y'all for Genesis 12. Thank you.